And then we got verse 17 here, where it says, when they become waterless, the they there is the wadi. So we're still talking about the wadis here. When they become waterless, they are silent, right? And so here he's comparing his friends. It's like, oh, you got all this hot air, all this talking you're doing, and you just got nothing else to offer me. There's nothing else. And you got to remember, what are we tying this to? We're verse 14, for the despairing man, there should be kindness from his friend. Who's like, well, you got all this torrent, all these words coming at me, and then there's nothing. There's not even kindness. And so this is where we got to be careful. You know, we're Christians and we're trying to be a friend to another suffering Christian. We got to make sure that we're not just yapping at the mouth, which, by the way, we're really good at doing. I don't know if you've ever noticed that or not. You know, especially, you know, today with, social media and all the commentary that people like to do. Man, we are good at just taking something and running with it. And we forget about kindness. And what's hilarious about this, and it's not really hilarious, but I'm using that word, is that we season our words with things like prayer and, you know, in those kinds of words that make us seem like we care. But do we? Right? Because if your thing is to pray, well, you don't really got to tell the world that that's what you're doing. You just go pray. You go to your prayer closet, like the word says, and you go before God, and you cry out before the Lord. And then let God do what he's going to do publicly. Let God change the hearts. Let God do what he does. But often we're like these wadis. We're turbulent. We say things. And then when we're done with our point, we're just silent. No kindness, no love, no real comfort of any kind. That's all I had, was my opinion. Here it is. Well, keep it to yourself. That's kind of what Job is saying here in some ways. He's like, I don't need that. That's not what I need. A suffering man needs kindness. He needs kindness, right? And why? So that the man who's a believer, not just the despairing man, but the man who calls himself a friend, is not despairing, okay, or forsaking the fear of the Almighty. We talked an hour about this last week. I can't really get to it now. So if you missed last week, you missed a lot. You should go back and listen to that and then come back and listen to this. But so there's a lot there, and I just don't have the time to get back into all of that. But that's what we're talking about here, okay? So when they become waterless, they are silent. When it is hot, they vanish from their place. So you can see here, in the winter, they're no good because they harden, okay? And they're ice, and it's slushy ice, and it's no good ice, not good for anything. And in the summer, well, they're just not there. There's nothing there. There's nothing to hang on to. There's nothing to look at. In fact, people get caught in flash floods because they don't even know they're walking in a wadi. You know, they're just walking along. They're like, oh, this is kind of cool. And all of a sudden, they just see like a little bit of water coming through. And all of a sudden, there's just a torrent. They're like, holy cow. And if you don't get out in time, it takes you down with it. And so that's what he's comparing his friends to. You're like a wadi. That's what you're like. And, there's a lot of self-examination that we can do here, isn't there?